a leprechaun has taken up residence in their neighborhood. A leprechaun.
Curiosity leads to large crowds in the Caju Cafe. Many of you bring binoculars, camcorders, even camera phones to take pictures.
To me, it look like ML. To me, I gotta do is look up in the tree. Who else in the soul of Detroit? Say yeah!
You asked it around your Detroit. Around my face. It's gone.
What are you doing?
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Al?
Hey kids, it's your old pal ML Elric with our annual check-in show with Sean Mann of DCFC. For those of you who care about sports, authentic good times, and a game that some people call football, but folks around here still call soccer. We're working on them because we really haven't had football here since the Portsmouth Lions moved to Detroit some 60 or 70 years ago. We will be checking in on the Detroit City Football Club. Today may be the most epic day in Detroit City Football Club history. So, of course, we had to distract Sean because he doesn't have enough to do with the Columbus Crew coming in. So, Sean, thanks for making time for being here.
No, thanks for having me.
And if you're watching us on our live broadcast on YouTube or on Facebook, you can see I'm sitting in Mark's seat because Mark is not here. He, as you know, hates soccer. He loves Russian oligarchs, but he hates soccer as a Chelsea fan. So he's not here. He's weeping for the Blues, who I think will not repeat as Champions League champions. So I know I lost half you with all that right there. So let's go right to Sean Mann so we can or Sean Windsor so we can chase the other half of our audience.
I was just going to say we want to lose everybody.
Yeah, so Sean's back, and
it's good to be back. By the way, the other Sean here pulled up in a nice company car with the DCFC logo on the side.
It's our Chevy Blazer, our official car.
Is it wrapped? Do you have a custom wrap? Oh, so if people see you at stop signs, you roll down your window and give out free tickets and stuff.
Yeah. Just wave, honk,
and beers, and kick a soccer ball into their back seat.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. So keep your eyes peeled for the DCFC Chevy Blazer. That's pretty impressive. I think the last time I was in any kind of branded car, I was working at Channel 4. So this was a long time ago, and it wasn't for very long. And they had all their cars were made up with the Detroit sports teams because back then it was April and the D was their big thing. So they had a Detroit Red Wings Jeep Commander. They had like some sort of Jeep, maybe a Compass or a Patriot that was made up for the Tigers, and one was made up for the Red Wings. And now, Red Wings are done. There was a Pistons one too. Pistons done. Red Wings about to be done. Tigers, maybe they're kind of coming back. And DCFC has moved up. I think last time we had you on, you guys had just salvaged some sort of league because the other league wasn't going to make it. And now you are in this, you're on the doorstep of greatness. You're about to cross the threshold into big time dome stadium and monster truck rallies and
Turf.
Cheerleaders. And yeah.
No, it's been a wild journey. Someday I'll write a memoir that like 5 people will find interesting. But just one turn after another, and DCFC somehow just keeps climbing every step of the way.
Yeah, it's amazing, and they really are on the threshold of something amazing. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, and ask Sean what he knows about the other would-be soccer impresario in this town. I shouldn't say the other would-be because Sean actually is a soccer impresario, but Dan Gilbert has been making some noise about bringing Major League Soccer to Detroit for some time. Then we heard that he might be buying a Premier League club. And while all this is going on, rising and falling, all this other stuff, building stadiums, moving to Ford Field, all that other stuff, the Sean who's with us here actually has brought MLS soccer to Detroit, but not in the way you might think. So stand by for that while we say a big thanks to our sponsors, the people who make it possible for us to be here. And if we could increase their rates, we may end up building our own stadium or maybe some sort of podcasting studio. I don't know, but first things first. David Hall and Hall Financial is the guy you need to call if you're looking to refinance or get a mortgage. You can call Hall, 866-CALL-HALL. That's CALLHALL. I know there's one extra letter there, but just press it anyways. Nothing will happen. You can sign up for your free 5-minute mortgage review and your chance to win Drew's tickets in the Champions Club on April 20th. So you've got to act fast. But even if you miss that deadline, there's always a great deal at Hall Financial. They can help you tap into your home equity to unlock tens of thousands of dollars. Call 866-CALL-HALL now to register to win Drew's tickets. But if you're just looking for a good deal, you can contact them anytime. When you contact them, let them know you heard about them from the Soul of Detroit. And you can also find a link to their website at our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. Another network-wide sponsor we have to thank is Luke Nowacki, because he's the guy at Pinnacle Wealth Strategies who will help you get through these troubled times, because overreaction is not the strategy for the long-term investor. Neither is burying your head in the sand and hoping it all turns out for the best. You can call our friend Luke Nowacki at Pinnacle Wealth. That's 248-663-4748 for rational financial advice. Get advice. Get a strategy. Call Luke Nowacki at Pinnacle Wealth, 248-663-4748, because when you call Luke, he'll make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associates Inc., member FINRA/SIPC. Royal Alliance Associates Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associates Inc.
We're also brought to you by the Caju Cafe. We'll tell you a little bit more about them during Room 7609, our new wave music feature, because if you really love music, the Caju Cafe is not just a place for great food and great times. They always have great music. We will tell you what's coming up at the Caju a little bit later in the show, but we want to get right to Sean, because this is a man who has been very, very busy. And the last time I saw you, you guys were in a new league, and you were maybe second or third tier, was it? I mean, you were moving up, and soccer's kind of weird here. It takes a European model where to get to the big leagues, the national governing board has to essentially say it's okay for you to compete in this league, and this league is okay. And they're really difficult to deal with, which you may or may not want to talk too much about, but somehow you've overcome.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess at that point I've been involved in a few lawsuits involving the mess that is U.S. soccer. And so, you know, for those folks that actually follow like world soccer, you know, the rest of the world has this really novel system where it's promotion relegation, that if you win, you know, kind of like similar like the baseball, there's the different tiers, right? And if you win the third division, you move up to the second division. And conversely, if you lose the second division, you move down. And we don't have that in America. Every league is independently owned and they don't work together. But yet somehow U.S. Soccer, the organization, designates a first division, a second division, third division. So up until November, we were in the third division of pro soccer, and that league was faltering. And somewhat miraculously, we were able to bring on a new partner, raise the capital to make the move up to second division. And financially, we were already there. You know, we account for more than half of all the attendance in the third division. We had set the new American Pro Soccer record. We went 364 days without losing a game, 27 games, undefeated. So we needed better competition. We needed to be at a higher level. And so we made that jump this offseason, and we're now at USL Championship, which is the second level of American soccer, just below Major League Soccer. And, I think anytime you make a transition, there's concern about, like, is this the right place for us? Are we ready for this? And, I think what we proved is our mantra is, like, we belong. Like, we're the Vegas bookmakers, and we're at a level now where, like, there's a lot of betting on our games. Vegas bookmakers has finishing next to last in the league. We're a month and a half in the season, and we're in fourth place. Attendance-wise, even though despite this weather, we're right there towards the top. TV viewership, we're second in the league. We're setting the pace already at the second level.
Well, it's amazing because this is a team that started playing games on the field at Cass Tech High School. Eventually moved to Keyworth Stadium in Hamtramck, where I think the capacity is somewhere around 7,000.
Yeah,
is that right?
7,200. Yep.
So you guys started packing, basically just playing other teams in the Midwest. And then the leagues come and go. You guys jumped around a little bit. Got to a point where you're now paying the players more than just beer money, traveling, taking flights, going all over the country, putting up trophies, all very well and good, but still just kind of, more minor league soccer. Now second division, and for folks who don't follow this, first division is what we would consider to be the pros, right? That'd be the major leagues.
Major leagues, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So you guys are right there. I mean, you are you're AAA baseball right now. Getting ready to play MLB.
Different than AAA in the sense that we are, fully professional, and like we have a CBA, like a union, players union, and it's not bus rides to Winston-Salem. Like every weekend we were just in Atlanta last weekend. We're going to Hartford this weekend. We started the season in San Antonio.
Flying first class?
Yeah, no, not quite. But,
it's on their own plane, so all the seats are first class. Yeah.
Yeah, but we amongst our competition, a good number of teams are owned by like major league teams. San Antonio Spurs own the San Antonio soccer team. Tampa Bay Rays own the Tampa Bay Rowdies.
You'd think with those Spurs they would pop the balls, but they don't wear those for the games, right?
Yeah. So no, it's just stepped up a notch. Every game's televised. Nationally on ESPN, but locally we televise pretty much every game on TV20. So yeah.
And I saw that one of your most recent games was just on ESPN.
Yeah, we had our first ever nationally televised game Friday night on ESPN Deportes, which we won, and we still had a good number of people showing up, even though it was 41 and a driving rain. It was, this is our 10th anniversary this year, and it just feels like every game is somehow historic in its own right. Just in a whole new chapter, whole new higher level for us.
So one of the things that I wonder about is, and every year I think those of us who love the team worry about some big shot coming in and saying, okay, you've proven it can be done, so now we're going to do it. It's Adult Swim now. Get all the kids out of the pool. And for a long time, and I guess probably the last 4 or 5 years, there was talk that Dan Gilbert was going to, first of all, build a stadium. He got the failed jail there at Gratiot and Griswold, I think, or Brush or St. Antoine, at any rate, right by the courthouse. He was going to tear that down, build a gateway project where we're going to have this beautiful stadium, 25 to 30,000 feet. It was going to be an architectural miracle. It was going to host concerts. It's going to be the kind of stadium that you see in places like Toronto and I imagine Columbus, which is a big city. People don't realize Columbus, Ohio is bigger than Detroit by a considerable amount, and they have some major league facilities, and of course they have a pro college football team, but that's another story. And this was going to happen, and then it didn't happen, and then they were going to move to Ford Field, and they were going to play Major League Soccer at Ford Field, and I think maybe the Illiches were involved, and all the billionaires who make things happen downtown and get all the breaks. We're going to bring pro soccer to Detroit, and it was going to happen, and then we haven't heard anything. And then just in the last month or so, we hear that Dan Gilbert is part of a group that's trying to buy Chelsea, which is one of the most valuable soccer clubs in the world. It's based in London. It was owned by a Russian oligarch who's now being forced to sell. And so now Dan Gilbert's going to England. As you can tell from this long-winded setup, nobody knows what the hell Dan Gilbert's going to do. What are you hearing? What is going on?
Yeah, I mean...
and in the meantime, you're bringing pro soccer to Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've taken the approach for quite a while that we control what we can control, and we're going to just continually keep building, and, DCFC's could be Detroit soccer team. If anyone wants to challenge that, then, we'll have a conversation. But we're going to just keep doing what we're doing, and we have a rabid fan base that, supports this club, has invested in this club and made it what it is. In terms of the MLS, I think it's interesting how things have evolved since 2016 when they first announced MLS, the MLS of Detroit, and then by 2018 they pulled the plug on it. They did the math then, and the math hasn't got any better. That there is very questionable economics around building a $300 million venue in downtown Detroit, and that is what MLS is looking for. And so that led to the pivot to Ford Field, and Ford Field is just not set up for soccer, and it wouldn't work. And I think when you look at the landscape now of MLS, they're at 29 teams. It's pretty much a lock that Las Vegas will be Team 30. And so the running assumption is that with the World Cup coming to North America in 26, that the league will add 31 and 32 before 26, or as part of that. if you look at the markets, San Diego, Phoenix, Sunbelt cities are probably the front runners. Detroit doesn't really have the demographics that MLS is looking for. Where MLS does best is even Columbus has struggled, but like Cincinnati, Columbus, like cities where they're not competing with the 4 other major sports. So that like slightly notch below. Chicago Fire plays at Soldier Field. They're playing a game tonight. We will outdraw the Chicago Fire tonight. Easy. It struggles in northern established historic legacy sports towns. So it's not a slam dunk here. Now, the one caveat would be, and Charlotte just got an MLS team, is with those last 2 spots, presumed spots, in the day it's a club, and they want, the right owners in that club. And, Dan Gilbert definitely meets that criteria. So, it's up to Dan what the interest is in terms of soccer here. But Chelsea, that's shocking.
And that would be a $1 billion club, maybe $2 billion to buy that club, right?
For an MLS?
For Chelsea. No.
Chelsea.
If he bought that. I mean, MLS club, he'd probably have to put up, a couple $100 million. But to buy Chelsea, that's one of the world famous
my understanding
soccer teams.
Yeah, my understanding the bids are coming in north of $3 billion for Chelsea. And MLS right now, the assumption is the expansion fee for Team 30s could be around $400 million, and then another $200, $300 million for a stadium. There's probably a reason all the owners who are bidding on Chelsea are Americans. 4 times as many Americans get up and watch Premier League on Saturday morning than they do MLS during primetime TV. It is such a cultural brand. It is so enticing, it's exciting, right? It is really the heavy hitters of global sports is the Premier League, and that is Chelsea's one of the biggest brands now. So it's enticing. MLS and Premier League are 2 different worlds, totally separate.
So has Dan Gilbert given up on soccer in Detroit? Should we be expecting no more grandiose plans for a major stadium here in the city?
You'd have to ask them. I would not anticipate anybody's looking to build a $300 million stadium here in Detroit.
Sure.
I don't think there's any economics that support it.
The drawing was nice. Do you remember the drawing?
Well, it was a bit contentious because they used pictures of our fans and our branding in it.
That's true.
It's a nice drawing. But there's a history of a lot of nice drawings about projects around Detroit.
Absolutely. That's what I remember about that, though, was the drawing.
Yeah, one of my favorites was, and this is classic Detroit City Council, back in the early 2000s, City Council told the Maroons, we need a plan for the train station or we're going to order its demolition. In fact, we are going to knock it down and send you the bill. And they said, we're serious this time. We talk about this all the time. At this time, we're going to tear down Tiger Stadium. We're going to get Michigan Central deep. We're going to clear the blight up. No recourse. We've had it. You're on the clock. And so the Maroons threw together a intermodal transport facility, and they came in with these renderings by a pretty respectable firm, Macintosh Porras, and I knew one of the principals a little bit, and he seemed to be a very, very sincere and genuine person. They put together, the train station is redone, and Roosevelt Park is refurbished, and there are lights projected up to the sky, and you're like, oh wow, what are you going to say? Well, intermodal transport, and I was like, well, what's that? It's when you have modals that enter and they port things by trans. And we're like, okay, I don't know what that means, but they put some renderings out there and they clearly spent some, and they didn't do another damn thing about it. And then, of course, we had Kilpatrick saying he was going to turn into the police headquarters, which he didn't. And so this notion of taking sites and properties in Detroit and putting out a gorgeous rendering that is now going to be there, and people sit there and they say, oh, well, I better start saving my money so I can get season tickets in a year or two. The only thing that's going to happen to your money if you're saving for season tickets is it's going to collect interest.
May I quibble with the analogy a little bit, though? Because the train station actually is getting transformed. Tiger Stadium is gone, and what's in its place? I mean, unless I don't want to open that can of worms. It's kind of nice. I mean, but there are kids that play on really, really great little league fields there. There are condos or
it's turf
surrounded, and
But
right?
To go back
that's
to
a separate issue. But the way they remade that corner and the way they were making the train station right now is actually kind of
Sure, but
awesome.
But let's keep things on the timeline here. City
20
Council
years,
said,
yeah.
"Get your ass in here next week, or we're going to tear it down."
Oh, I know,
They
but
came back with the rendering, and then City Council's like, "Okay, let's get some pizzas," and then it takes multiple because
So
the
Sean,
difference
20
between-
years from now, right?
Yeah. So are we going to have
We'll
this
have
$300
MLS.
million stadium? And
Yeah, 20 years.
I have a hard time seeing us at Keyworth in 20 years, with our natural progression of things. So, I think that's one of the things that excites us about our current league is you're seeing teams who the league is stable enough that you're seeing teams building, soccer specific venues across the league, 50, 60, $70 million stadiums that seat 10, 12,000 people. And so, there's definitely a higher bar than where we're at right now. And so, I think there are going to see, a soccer specific venue in the city, at some point.
That's pretty exciting, right? I mean,
it's something, certainly that we have an eye towards, but that being said, we're making the most of Keyworth. We love Keyworth. It's an awesome historic venue. It's romantic. It's fun, but it is not on the same par as other venues in our league, and we know that.
Well, and here's the difference between billionaires and guys from the neighborhood who put together a soccer team. When you needed to raise money to refurbish Keyworth, for those who don't know it, it was a civil works project that was put together during the Roosevelt administration. Some might think it's Teddy, but it was actually Franklin. It's not that old, and it's in Hamtramck, and right next to it is one of the last Negro League baseball stadiums that's also being refurbished separately. But when you guys needed to raise money for that, you offered people an investment opportunity, whereas the folks who want to build these $300 million stadiums also turn to the public, but kind of with a gun in their hand, which they put to our head, and then we put up most of the money, and there's no return on our investment, or very little, or it's hard to check, whereas you guys, I think, paid 30 or 35% back to investors. I mean, as one of those investors, I think it was one of the best deals I ever made in my life. I wish you guys would do it again.
Yeah, no, we paid everybody back.
Ahead of time?
Yeah, 2 years ahead of time with a set return. And it worked out really well. And, one of the things about Keyworth is, it was the first WPA project down here in Michigan. Technically the stadium had been slated for demo. Most of it had been condemned when we stepped in. But, with the work we did and then with the folks at the Negro League field work they're doing, we've actually now created a conservancy. Ralph Wilson Foundation and even the state has helped support. And so, we're really creating a very unique, historic, athletic complex that also serves the community. Keyworth is so there's at least over 75 pro soccer venues in the country. Keyworth is the only one that's open to the public. So, if you go there right now, you can kick a ball around. It is the only one that is not closed off.
And it's a home field for Hamtramck High Schools, Hamtramck Public High Schools.
Yeah,
so kids are playing there.
Yeah, and there's multiple semi-pro, Sunday men's league teams that play there as well. It is an incredibly active community public space. It's one of the things U.S. Soccer doesn't like about it. It also creates a lot of wear and tear on the facility for us to deal with. So, we constantly keep pumping money into it just to make it functional. It's when you're in there, it feels like Detroit, right? It is concrete, it's wood benches, it's next to a rail yard with the GM Hamtramck factory right there on the horizon.
The call to prayer, which is pretty great.
Cheap beer.
Yeah, we've we still keep our prices down even with this move. Ticket prices didn't go up with the move up. We're trying to be the most affordable, accessible sporting event in Detroit, and putting out a winning product.
So before we get to how you got to level 2, what are you hearing about Dan Gilbert? Is he done? Is this on the back burner? Do you still wake up in the middle of the night and say, oh, shit, what's Gilbert doing? If you ever did that in the first place. But
yeah, I mean, our understanding, in conversations in American soccer, MLS, is that, the MLS Detroit bid, is not active. I think as long as there's billionaires attached to it, there's always going to be a faint pulse to it. So again, we just focus on what we control.
So talk to us about that. So just to let you know, today is Tuesday. Tonight, DCFC plays the Columbus Crew, which is an MLS team as part of the, we call it the U.S. Open Cup.
Yeah, U.S. Open Cup is...
so this is everybody plays. This is the Yankees could play a single A baseball
Mud
team,
hens.
and if they beat the Yankees, then they have a chance. I mean, this is what they do in England. We don't really do stuff like this here with other sports, only with football, soccer.
Yep.
It's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And it's been around since 1915. It took a couple years off because of COVID, so it's back up. But if you can imagine, any men's amateur team can enter it, and they actually start playing in the fall. And then the top 20, 30 of those qualified to start playing in the spring. They played around. Then the pro teams start getting layered in. And so we won a couple weeks ago in our first round, which was the second round. And now the worst MLS teams joined in this round. And then the last MLS teams joined the next round. So basically from this point on, it's all MLS, but teams coming in. But yeah, this idea that you got MLS, all the pro teams, and then the top amateur teams in the country in this kind of March Madness tournament is pretty special. And tonight is kind of the culmination for us, and that, like, not culmination, but like, I mean, it's been 10 years in the making, right? That we finally have a chance to go toe to toe with an MLS team on, a field of our making.
Yeah, how did you get a home field gig? I mean, you guys are the underdog. I don't think that's disrespectful to say that.
Yeah, it was a coin toss. And so, it's great for us, right? It's like a 6-figure payday. We should have, I don't know if we'll get to a full sellout, but like we're trending to like an absolutely packed house. And yeah, no, it's great for us as a small business. It makes up for the fact that every home game we had so far has been 40 and rainy,
Yeah.
like, worse attendance than we're used to. So, but then, yeah, like we've created an incredibly unique environment, match day experience that is renowned around American soccer. And this is the first time we've gotten to host an MLS team in that atmosphere. And I was listening to Sirius XM this morning, and they were talking about this match. Like, it is the one that everyone's highlighted to see our fans with an MLS team. It should be, bonkers.
Do you see a path? You mentioned earlier that the level you're at right now, there's some 10 to 12,000 seat stadiums. Kind of, do you see a path for that, and especially with the fan base, that there are another 6, 7, 8,000 fans or so that would regularly fill up on top of what you get at Keyworth?
Yeah, I think, it's something we have our eyes on. People approach us over the year. I mean, even going back to Cast Tech, people approach us. I think it has to make sense, but also, as much as I love Keyworth, there's limitations, right? The Negro League field got rehabbed, which we were incredibly supportive of, and we're glad that's happened. But our parking spots went from 450 down to 50, and so like we have a total of 175 parking spots for a 7,000 seat venue. So there are limitations to Keyworth as a venue. So yeah, as we continue to grow, it's something that we had to get serious about.
Well, one reason a lot of people think the Ilitches were done with Tiger Stadium were things like concessions and suites, but also parking. Yep. You guys, that's a huge revenue stream, and you guys are getting not even a trickle out. In fact, when I go to games, I just go park on the street and walk over. It's one of my favorite things to do, is just walk through the neighborhoods, and kids are playing. To me, it feels like what it would have been like to go to Ebbets Field or Forbes Field or Wrigley Field. Still kind of like that. Oh, it's so commercial. And what it was like to walk to Tiger Stadium when I was a kid. It's just a great experience. But in terms of a going concern, when you see me park for free and walk over there, you're thinking, okay, he's not buying a beer in our place. He's not paying us for parking. It's a line item where you guys have zero.
It's not even that as much for us. It is more the amenity of it, really. Like losing those 300 spots, like it's 300 people that are either like, I don't feel comfortable leaving my car in the neighborhood, which they should feel fine. Like there's no issues, like, in Hamtramck. But yeah, it just puts a strain on the neighborhood as well. So it's more of the amenity. I mean, our ticket prices are $15, like, day of, $12 in advance. It's hard for us to justify charging $50 parking like you see downtown, Right. It's not us. It doesn't match up with where we're at. So, it's more the amenity of it.
So how did you get to the second level, which is, again, on the doorstep of Major League Soccer? I imagine part of it is because we know how these leagues work. You found somebody with some really deep pockets to get involved, because if you don't have somebody who has a pretty sizable bank balance, no matter how successful you are, these soccer leagues are not gonna let you in.
Yeah, I mean, U.S. Soccer has requirements, and the leagues themselves have requirements, and so you have to have somebody who owns at least 35% equity of the club, who has a certain net worth at each level. And for us, it was miraculous. And I'm not being exaggerating, but by mid-December, there was clear signs that our current league was faltering. Bills weren't being paid. Teams weren't paying dues. It was teetering, and so we weren't in a position where we were going to risk the future of DCFC for a league. And so, in the span of 6 weeks, one of our oldest friends in Detroit put us in touch with college buddy of his out of state who was familiar with us, loved what we were doing, and wanted to be a silent partner. And he's a relatively normal guy who has no profile at all, and wants to remain anonymous because he's not involved in the day-to-day of the club. He's just supportive, and so just a relatively normal guy with a net worth of $100 million or more. But other than that, pretty regular dude. We couldn't have asked for a better scenario because, honestly, that is how it landed. And we pinch ourselves with how it worked out. And Todd, Alex, myself, the guys who started the club, we're still the ones running it. We run the day to day, and it's been pretty exciting.
But a rich guy with a shitty team is not going to get to the second level.
No, you can buy your way in, but I would say that there is degrees of the leagues are discerning about who they want, and it's a club, right? And they're discerning about who they want in the organization. And frankly, we've been performing at that level of a second division team for years now. It was really just a matter of the stars kind of lining up.
So where does it go next? I mean, what happens? I mean, after you beat Columbus tonight, and that's going to happen, so we're good with that. What happens next season? I mean, it seems like every year you guys make a step up, and then it looks like, oh my God, the floor is going to fall out beneath them, and then somehow you guys right the ship and end up higher. Well, you're now at a point where if you come back to this show next year and just say, well, this second division thing, people started getting a little freaky and we started getting a little nervous, and we're going to be playing the Cosmos on Saturday because now we're an MLS team. So I guess it's weird how that happened. I don't know. I mean, how many weird dudes are you guys going to run into in December who are worth, 7 figures it's got to be 10 or 11 figures, right? No, sorry, 8 or 9 figures, and say, you knuckleheads can keep doing what you do because it seems to work.
I mean, all I can tell is have people tune in because I think this has been one of the more wild rides in American sports, certainly American soccer. From where we were to where we are, we just keep pushing ourselves and taking on bigger challenges, and and we've been getting more and more, I think, credibility nationally, internationally, and hopefully locally as well. And we're seeing that higher TV ratings, and we're getting more interest. We just need. Not to make excuses, but we need better weather. Jesus Christ. We've had 6 games. We've yet to have a game about 45. Yeah.
The weather's been awful. By the way, isn't there, I'm trying to remember, isn't there an example in Portland, right? Is it a somewhat similar? They started, I know they didn't start out maybe at the equivalent Cast Tech, but.
No one has started out at the Cast Tech level.
Right.
So there's 2 MLS. Portland was in the NASL, and then they survived throughout the 80s playing indoor and various semi-pro leagues. FC Cincinnati was in USL, our current level, and they went up to MLS. Same with Nashville. There's been a handful of teams now that have gone from USL up to MLS. But, when you talk about 5 friends starting a team, you have to go back to 1800s Victorian England to see comparables of this kind of rise. So
yeah, this is usually where when Hollywood does this, Sean is sitting there and then Rob Lowe comes in and says, "Great job, kid, but now we're taking over."
I do find myself finding the whole new genre of entrepreneur, imposter, fraud miniseries. I find watching those and being oh man, that hits a little close to home. Yeah.
Well, here you are. God bless you. Tell folks how they can not only get access to tonight's game by TV, radio, buy ticket, but how they can get involved for the rest of the season.
Yeah, tonight's game's on ESPN Plus. There's still some general admission tickets. I think everything else is sold out. DETcityFC.com. And, for us, this is kind of the springboard. We, if you're jumping in right now, it's a good time. We're fourth in the league or in the conference, despite all the odds. We probably have half the payroll of the other teams in the league, but, we're just doing great. And, we're going to make a mark tonight, I think. I don't know if Columbus knows what's coming for them. So
if you missed out making a fortune on that Leicester City bet a few years ago, you might want to be looking at Detroit City with your odds maker. They even have a coach with an accent. That seems to be a real sign of maturity.
Very charming Englishman. That's when you made it as an American soccer team.
That's it. So Det City FC to get tickets to find out what's going on. As it gets warmer, I'll be getting out to some of those games. And Sean, keep up the great work. Keep pulling those miracles, because it's just exciting to see what you're able to do while the billionaires who talk don't seem to get anything done.
Yeah. No, and come on out, experience it for yourselves tonight. If food trucks are your thing, like Sean, come on out, and we got a full slate of them tonight. So
all right, let's hear it for the Beignets.
Yep.
Which is not a French team. It's go out there, you'll see for yourself. So Joe, let's hit that Geek of the Week.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
So in Mark's absence, Joe Zuver has stepped up to keep us on track. So we appreciate Joe being here. We would never hit the Geek of the Week, because this week's Geek of the Week have already been hit pretty hard, and it's by something they ate. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has begun investigating Lucky Charms after more than 100 people allege that the culturally insensitive cereal caused nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. Well, as you know, this show is in part about journalism trying to get to the truth, doing some investigative reporting. So we reached out to General Mills, which makes this Irish-bashing breakfast food, and asked them what's going on. And their response was, as you might have guessed, it's Lucky Charms. What did they expect? So hungover people expecting culinary delights from a box of styrofoam and fake mushrooms, or fake marshmallows that look like mushrooms, who are now complaining about nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. Really, what did you expect from a box of Lucky Charms? In fact, if you didn't get that, you might be suing them for false advertising. So you are our Geeks of the Week. Welcome to room 7609, where we take a look back at new wave music. Sometimes we find a gem that you never heard before, from a band you never heard before, that becomes something that you just can't get out of your head. It becomes maybe one of your new favorites. For me, that was learning that Duran Duran really liked Japan and listening to Japan, and now that's one of my favorite new wave bands. Or sometimes what we do is we go ahead and we take a band that you know and love and find a B-side or something that no one had heard before, and we put that out there for you to listen to. This segment is brought to you by Caju Cafe, where there's always something great going on. Caju Cafe is the pride of the East Side. Every Monday is Open Blues Jam and Muscle Madness. Tuesdays is Funk Night, and Wednesdays is karaoke. This Thursday, Billy Brandt and the Sugaries. This Friday, Jangophile, Evan Perry, Audrey Kubat. Saturday, it's Pazman Super Session. Sunday is RJ Spangler's Planet D Nonate and the Marge's Bar Band. For more information on all the great things going on at the Caju Cafe, which of course includes pinball, feather bowling, great food, beer garden's getting ready to open up for the summer, and anyways, you'll see me out at the Garage Bar. Go to cajucafe.com. That's CADIEUX CAFE, cajucafe.com. So this week, as you know, I'm really big on the Smiths and New Order and all the other great new wave bands. I'm also a huge Duran Duran fan. And if you do any research into Duran Duran, which I'm sure most of you do, it's probably how you spend most of your free time, you'll find out that a little band named Cockney Rebel was a huge influence on them. In fact, they cover a Cockney Rebel tune regularly. When they were new and exciting, and every once in a while, I think they trot out this cover band or this cover song when they hit the road. So we are going to treat you to a little tune called "Make Me Smile," and then Sean and I are going to have a very in-depth discussion about its merits, which I think is really the only reason why Sean comes here is to hear some new music and to give us some insights.
I'm sorry, I was just reading the rundown.
Oh, well,
I wanted to know what the show is about.
It's about an hour and a half that you wish you had back by the time you're done listening to it.
Is it an hour and a half? Have we stretched out to that long?
The way we're going, yes.
Okay.
Joey, hit it!
You've done it all.